You know, this is something where you can just turn your brain off and enjoy it. You might even say you can put it in cruise control. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about a release from late last month, Jungle Cruise. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it, or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my channel out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's jump right into it and let's talk about Jungle Cruise. This stars Emily Blunt as Dr. Lily Houghton, who enlists the aid of wisecracking skipper Frank Wolf, played by Dwayne Johnson, to take her down the Amazon in his ramshackle boat. Together they search for an ancient tree that holds the power to heal, a discovery that will change the future of medicine. This is directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, best known for helming a few of Liam Neeson's action movies, and it's written by Glenn Ficarra and John Requa, best known for I Love You Philip Morris and Bad Santa, along with Michael Green, who also co-wrote Logan and Blade Runner 2049. And it's part of a trend that may be back on the horizon that I'm still a bit mixed on, and that's the theme park adaptation trend that Disney's been doing, which was especially prominent in the 2000s. Prior to this, while the first Pirates of the Caribbean was both a critical and commercial success, every other adaptation of Disney's theme park attractions have either ranged from mediocre to flat out bad. So between that and the fact that the trailers showed off some really poor CGI, I was very skeptical of this going in. In fact, I don't know these days what I'm more hesitant with when I hear that they're in development: Disney's live-action remakes of their animated films or their theme park adaptations, because I know there's a few more of these in the works. But I do like both The Rock and Emily Blunt, so I had a little bit of hope in me that this would be, at the very least, okay. And in fact, this was a little more than okay. It was actually pretty good for what it was. Now, would I say, is it up there with some of Disney's best live-action movies? No, not at all. But besides the first Pirates movie, in terms of these theme park films, this easily runs circles around movies like The Haunted Mansion and The Country Bears. Mainly because it's a movie that focuses on having fun, and it has a wonderful throwback aesthetic to it. This is something that's already been said before, but stylistically, it reminds me a lot of old adventure films, in particular The African Queen, or even the Indiana Jones movies, as The Rock himself has said. I even got some vibes of the Mummy films with Brendan Fraser, considering there's a similar setup of two siblings looking to find something valuable and have to enlist the help of a more experienced adventurer in order to achieve their goal. So the homages to all these other films was cool. Plus, there's also an emphasis on big spectacle and grandiose action-packed set pieces that really try absorbing you into the moment, with scenes on the river, or in the town, or in the jungle. And despite the fact that the CGI in some of these instances was really obviously fake, with the worst of it being an exotic cat that Dwayne Johnson has, these scenes were still fun for what they were. And I also like the time the film took to building up this intricate lore that's behind the story, with this mythical tree known as the Tears of the Moon being the thing bringing most of our characters together. While some of this time dedicated to backstory does cause the film to go on a little longer than it probably should have, as it clocks in at 2 hours and 7 minutes when it probably should have just been an hour and 40 or so, I still did think it was solid enough, even if it did borrow a bit from the Pirates of the Caribbean playbook at times. But where this film truly shines, and the main reason why I liked it, is its cast. Even though these characters aren't exactly all that deep, the cast does a good job of making them a lot of fun to watch. Like, The Rock has now reached a point where he's one of those actors who, even if the movie itself is only so-so, is really charismatic and manages to elevate a lot of the material. And that's once again the case here. Now, admittedly, the one thing that's a little off-putting about his character in this film is that Frank is known for embellishing everything he does. He never gets to where he needs to be just based on his own merits. Like, when we first meet him, for example, as he's doing these paid jungle cruises, he fakes a lot of the dangers he's in. And with that, it's a little understandable. But the thing is, he does a lot of that for just about everything throughout the film. He'll lie to characters to get to where he needs to go. He originally fakes his identity to Emily Blunt when he meets her. Some of the obstacles the characters encounter are ruses set up by him so he can make himself look better. And sometimes it can feel a little grating that he's this much of a sneak. And while some of these moments are meant to be played for laughs and they can be funny, it does undercut a little bit of the tension. And I know there was some criticism directed towards that, and it's understandable. However, the character does try redeeming himself as the movie goes on, and like I said, Dwayne Johnson's overall charisma and really likable energy does help things immensely, especially as he tries to be better. Plus, he was quite funny. It didn't necessarily always excuse his bad behavior, but in the moments where he was trying to be likable, it worked enough. Mainly because he made a lot of corny puns, so that rocked. And the same goes for Emily Blunt, who herself is a great comedic talent, and is also someone who at this point can be very good and can elevate a movie even when the rest of it is only so-so. A lot of the banter between her and Johnson especially were highlights for me, and because her character doesn't have any sort of baggage to her that makes her hard to like the way Johnson had, it was much easier to root for her, along with Jack Whitehall who plays her brother. Now you also had Jesse Plemons as the villain of the movie, who is a little scene-chewing in his delivery as this snobbish, somewhat deranged German royal named Joachim, and he was a decent enough villain. Playing antagonist is something we know Plemons is already good at, considering he rose the famous Todd in Breaking Bad, and he was fine enough here. It's a little silly, and he's basically just a greedy rich jerk and nothing more, but it kept consistent with the film's tone, so there's that. Though I will say, he paled in comparison to Paul Giamatti, whose role is very small here, but he wins as easily the most over-the-top thing about this entire movie, playing an Italian boatmaster who was originally supposed to lead the expedition and whose boat Frank steals. And he is just absolutely ridiculous here. His delivery, his mannerisms, everything. It's something else. I mean, while Giamatti's known more these days for being an actor you can take fairly seriously, it's worth noting that when he goes for something campier and over the top, he really commits. And I liked how he just fully embraced it here. And he's just another reason why this movie is as fun as it is. While it does let itself get a bit too bogged down in some melodrama here and there, for the most part, it doesn't take things too seriously, and it's mainly focused on just having a good time. And honestly, that's all I can ask for. Jungle Cruise isn't a profound or groundbreaking film, but it's a fun, lighthearted little adventure that certainly exceeded my expectations. It certainly goes on a bit longer than it should have, with maybe a bit too much of an emphasis on backstory, as well as some questionable character decisions and some very obviously fake CGI that gets to the point of distracting, but it certainly does a lot more right than it does wrong. The cast all clearly had a ball with this, and it keeps its focus primarily on its sense of adventure and making sure we're having a good time. It might not be a new Disney classic, but it's a ride certainly worth taking. Jungle Cruise gets a 7.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Jungle Cruise or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Was this one of the better live-action Disney movies for you? Do you have a favorite Disney ride if you've been there? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.